Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for my top 5 favorite comic books of the week, and most of them are Marvel? What? That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is my top 5 favorite new comics of the week out of everything that dropped for New Comic Book Day. What were the 5 that I thought were the best of the best? The Eric Roberts of the batch, if you must. Anyway, let's get right into it. At number 5, Thor, number 25. From Marvel Comics, written by Donny Cates, with artwork by Martin Coccolo, coloring by Matt Wilson, and lettering by Joe Sabino. You know, I didn't really dig the first part of this whole Hulk versus Thor Banner of War thing last week, but I thought the second chapter was really cool. Thor number 25 is the next chapter of Banner of War, even though it does read more like a Hulk issue, because all of that mystery about what happened to Banner and Hulk in El Paso, this mystery which has been building up in the pages of Donny Cates' Hulk, has revealed here in Thor, which is a little weird. So if you're not reading Thor and you're skipping Thor because you don't want the crossover, you're gonna miss out on some pertinent information. That being said, this is Donny Cates taking 2 great action figures and just smashing them together, and I'm having fun with it. There was something missing, something not quite as impactful in the first chapter, but I really liked this second one. You get this whole idea inside of Banner's psyche, this whole conversation between Odin and Banner. And then on the outside, in the real world, you're getting a fight between Thor and Hulk. And it's really cool. And of course, Donnie's got to throw Iron Man into the mix. I really like this issue. I thought this was cool, old school fanboy, fangirl, superhero type stuff. And even though I wasn't quite digging so much on the first chapter of this, I am liking what Donnie's setting up right now in the pages of Thor. So it is deepening that just a little bit, as well as some of the stuff in Hulk, and actually making it work. In fact, this issue of Thor actually has been the best issue of Donny Cates' Hulk yet, in my opinion. So anyway, there you go. At number 4, The Ex-Cellent, number 3 from Marvel Comics. Written by Peter Milligan with artwork by Mike Allred, coloring by Laura Allred, and lettering by Nate Picos. I love this book. I love the work of Mike and Laura Allred. I have for a long time. I got into Madman back in the 90s. I've been following his career ever since. And of course, him and Pete Milligan worked on an X-Force title that introduced these newer characters, kind of making fun or spotlighting this reality show segment of it, right? That eventually became X-Statix, and then it was just gone. The Ex-Cellent is continuing this story. It's got a lot of throwbacks to the original, but it does kind of stand on its own. And one of the things that I like about this book so much is that it shows that in hindsight, that initial Milligan and Allred run on X-Force and X-Statix was incredibly prophetic. Because at the time, we just thought it was this neat, kitschy little thing, talking about the rise of reality TV. Survivor was big at that time and all of that jazz. But the way that the world has developed, with everybody on the internet, everybody on social media, everybody on YouTube, everybody doing this, it's really way more relevant today than it was back then. But like I said, it casts the propheticness of the original run. I really like Pete Milligan's ideas here. The characterization is really weird, quirky, kitschy, ginchy, as you may even say if you're an Allred fan. And Allred's artwork, it's like retro, but it still has this flair that is of the new. So I absolutely love this artwork. I love the story. And 3 issues in, I'm solidified into it. It's probably not going to last too long, but this could last forever, and I'd read it as long as I could. At number 3, Savage Avengers, number 1 from Marvel Comics. Written by David Pepose with artwork by Carlos Magno, coloring by Espen Grunjerd, and lettering by Travis Lanham. Yeah, I totally butchered that colorist's name, but it's okay because this book was awesome, and I will highly talk up his work. I love this book. I thought it was great. David Pepose, who we know from books like Spencer and Locke, Going to the Chapel, Scout's Honor, The OZ, is making his big Marvel team debut here with the new volume of Savage Avengers. Now, Savage Avengers is an unlikely team of Avengers side characters teamed up usually with Conan, right? And it was mostly a Conan story in the previous volume, which was written by Jerry Duggan, which I do feel kind of extended its ending out just a little bit too much. This, though, one of the best first issues from a Marvel comic I have read in a long time. David Pepose does a great job of making it make sense that the book is about Conan. He does a great job of introducing what is going to be the new team of Savage Avengers and making it happen kind of naturally and organically in a very much throwback to the original Avengers #1. So I thought that was really cool. I like the artwork, detailed backgrounds, some great coloring, some dense, interesting composition on the page. I had a lot of fun with this book, and the basic premise is this. Conan, who's been in the Marvel Universe in the present day for a while, obviously not supposed to be there, so the Terminator shows up to take him out. Not the Terminator, though. It's Deathlock. A Deathlock from the future goes to the Marvel present to take out the anomaly of the time stream, which is Conan, and you get everybody else thrown into it. Anti-Venom, Elektra, Cloak and Dagger, Black Knight. It's an interesting assortment, and actually for the first time I ever read a comic book with Weapon H or the Hulk Vereen, and actually really got into that character. I found the approach compelling and engaging, and like I said, a super top-notch issue #1. And yeah, we know that Marvel is losing the rights to publish Conan books, and I don't know what that means for this series, but this series could continue even without Conan because David Pepose is a hell of a writer, and I am down for this 100%. At #2, Usagi Yojimbo, #28 from IDW. Written, illustrated, and lettered by Stan Sakai, and colored by Hi-Fi Design. It has been years since I have actively followed Usagi Yojimbo on a contemporary basis, right? And when I first got into Usagi Yojimbo, I was way lost as far as not knowing where the story was going to start or what order the trades were or anything like that. I kind of elaborate on this a little bit on this week's weekly comic book review. So basically, the way I got into Usagi Yojimbo, which was the same way I got into Hellboy and the same way I got into Madman, was I just picked up the newest issues, started reading, then grabbed whatever I could find trade-wise and started reading that out of order like crazy. But really great comics can do that. Like, you can just jump in and you will still find yourself engaged and compelled. That being said, nobody does that better than Usagi Yojimbo. So it has been years since I followed this title, and now it's published by IDW in color, and it's never been in color before. Of course, they've been doing those color classics, which are reprints of the OG stuff, but in color. I've been picking those up too, as well as the trade paperbacks and all that stuff. But I loved this. If you've never read Usagi Yojimbo, you can jump right in. There was one character who I didn't really know who he was, but I understood who that character was very quickly. Stan Sakai is a master. I was talking to Brooks at the shop the other day, and I was talking about reading this issue of Usagi and how much I loved it. Just a great, simple, one-and-done story. Usagi Yojimbo is a rabbit, and he's a ronin. He's like a samurai-type character, right? And that may seem like that's going to be like some kind of kiddie, silly book, but it's not. This book always has heart, grit, and a little bit of an edge to it, but it totally works. And I was talking to Brooks, and Brooks goes, 100%, Usagi is doing the same thing that he's always done, and that is just top-notch story. 100%. Stan Sakai is one of the best storytellers in comics. He has such an amazing way with his pen, with the writing, with the lettering, but with the artwork. Always has backgrounds, always has lots of expressive characters in his book. So I am 100% super excited to be back into the world of Usagi. Like I said, just jumped in cold, haven't read Usagi in years, and I loved it. I encourage you to do the same. And at #1, Shaolin Cowboy, Cruel to Be Kin, #1, from Dark Horse Comics. Written and illustrated by Jeff Darrow, with coloring by Dave Stewart, lettering by Nate Picos. So I am a huge Jeff Darrow fan, big fan of his work on like the Matrix comics, and of course he helped design some of the Matrix ideas and things like that. But also Shaolin Cowboy, which is like East meets West type thing, right? Shaolin Cowboy is a monk who was asked to leave. So he's a Shaolin monk, so it's the best of like the East, and it's got that kung fu movie kind of vibe, but with a Western setting. And it's awesome. But not just a Western setting where anything can happen. Giant jellyfish can be flying through the sky. You can have a whole issue of Shaolin Cowboy just cutting up zombies. Or you can have a whole issue, for the most part, where he's just fighting some kind of lizard. That's what happens in this first issue. So this is like the 4th volume, maybe the 3rd volume, however you want to break up that first one. Some people break it up into 2. Anyway, this story has been going on for a while, but even if you've never read any of the other Shaolin Cowboy stuff, you can jump in right here and appreciate what this story is and completely understand why everybody who loves it, loves it. Detailed, textured, dense, complex artwork. It is so freaking detailed. Amazing sequential storytelling throughout, and great colors by Dave Stewart. Jeff Darrow's got a great sense of humor too, and I've checked out some of his interviews over at Cartoonist Kayfabe, and he seems like such a cool dude. He loves old kung fu movies, he loves old westerns, and he's taken what he loves and he's throwing it together. He also just loves weird, absurd, ridiculously funny things. So this book is a hoot. It is wild. It is violent. It is hilarious. This is everything that I want comic books to be. It is absolutely amazing. If you have never read a Jeff Darrow comic, I highly encourage you to do so. The book is dense with its imagery. There's so much there, so much detail, so much texture packed on every single page. And it's like that on all of his work, from Hard Boiled to Big Guy and Rusty, all the way through to the Shaolin Cowboy stuff. This book is awesome. If you like kung fu movies and you like westerns and you like wild, ridiculous comics, this book is for you. So that's what I read this week. Those were my top 5. What are your top 5s? What are your favorites? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Station. Pop, pop, boom.